How's it going, everybody? This is Darth Culls, and welcome to a brand new series I am bringing to my channel. And this is not in Madden, this is actually in NHL 21. And what I'm going to be doing is taking over the Detroit Red Wings, my favorite team ever since I was a kid. And we are going to be taking them from arguably being the bottom feeder of the NHL to hopefully back to their glory of what they were a few years ago, where they are just a fearsome team. Obviously, we are doing, we're taking over this team, but one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually making an expansion team instead of the Seattle, instead of the Seattle Krakens, we actually have, we have the Seattle Aliens. So I didn't really want to make the Seattle Kraken logo, so I just made them the Aliens. So what we're going to do here, obviously the Red Wings have a really, really bad team. They had the worst team in an 82 game stretch in in basically history. So let's just take a look at this team and see what we have. So for centers, we have Dylan Larkin. He's our captain. Cappy right here. He's an 88 elite high. He's a playmaker. This guy, he's not leaving us for a long time, but we can see Glendening and Garner. They are both going to be going. We'll take a look at the system later here. Left wings, we have Tyler Bertuzzi, who I am personally a big fan of. I think he's going to be really good for this team. But, we have a lot of good wingers here that we can potentially use, like Robbie Fabry. He's a winger, center. We're definitely going to be using him more of a center. But one of the big young pieces that we have is Filip Zadina. He is an elite mid, 81 overall. In the game, I don't know why they have him as a two-way. I switched him over to a sniper because, honestly, in the real NHL, he is way more of a sniper than he is a defensive player. He has good defensive awareness, but he is vastly more of a sniper than really anything else. And then Helm, Vladen Stankov, both of these guys aren't really going to be here. Then we also have Adam Ern. Again, another guy, he hasn't really developed for the Red Wings thus far in his career. Giovanni Smith, he's a young guy. He's probably going to end up being pretty much nothing more than just kind of like a fourth liner for us. Taking a look at the right wing, we have Anthony Mantha, who is also an elite high. He is an 85 overall. He's again going to be one of our top players. We have him for 5 years at $5.7 million. So we have him till he's 30, which is good. Bobby Ryan, who's actually playing really, really well this year in real life. But we are going to be moving on from him when we get the opportunity. And then here we have the defensive side. Obviously, we have Filip Hronek. He is pretty much our #1 D-man right now. And yeah, he's pretty solid. We're definitely keeping him around. Stetcher, he's around for a couple of years. I forget how long they signed him for. It was a 2-year deal. I did add an extra contract year just so when we do the expansion draft. But yeah, he's going to be around. But yeah, Deshaun DeKaiser, 30 years old, 80 overall, costing us $5 million a year. He's not a bad guy to keep around. It's just that it's just not worth giving this man $5 million for the next 3 seasons. So he's going to be on our team for this upcoming season, but we're not going to be keeping him around for too much longer. Merrill and Namath, these guys are both probably going to be gone fairly soon. But yeah, looking at this, there's not a whole lot of guys. Obviously, Mark Stahl came over from, he came over from the Rangers. He came over in a trade where whoever let him go, I forget who it was, they basically just traded him away and said, here, Detroit, take a 2nd round pick so you can get this guy off of our roster. But looking at our goalie situation, I would say Jonathan Bernier, he is definitely our best goalie on the roster. In real life, he's actually playing really, really well. And Thomas Greiss, he's not bad. He's not playing good at all in real life. taking a look at in the system here, we have pretty much our number one center in Joe Veleno, former first-round pick back in 2018. We're hopefully going to be getting him in our team, not this season, but hopefully the season after that. And then our next big guy is Jonathan Bergram, who is a top 6. In the game, they do have him as a top 6 medium, but they also have him at a 60 overall, which is just criminal for what he's been doing in the SHL. He was second in points in the SHL as a 19-year-old. He's absolutely killing it. So I gave him a top 9 or a top 6 high with a 70 overall. And plus, being drafted in the second round, 33 overall, and doing what he's doing in the NHL, he definitely deserves where he's at right now. And then kind of like looking at the centers, we have Albin Gruer. This is a guy that I think is potentially going to be a fairly good player coming into the NHL. He was compared to Brad Marchand, so I kind of like that we can have one of those guys for us. But then, yeah, just kind of looking else, but this is a guy that we're definitely going to try to develop and get onto the team. And then looking at left wings, Michael Rasmussen, a former first-round pick back in 2017. This is a guy, again, he's probably going to end up playing in the NHL this season. Tim Hirosh, yeah, he's developed fairly well for the team. He's probably going to end up playing, not this season, but again next season. Then we also have Evgeny Svechnikov, another former first-round pick, but he was drafted back in 2015, and he just hasn't really developed. So honestly, I'm really prepared to just let this guy walk just because he hasn't done really anything. Looking over at the right wings here, this is basically kind of the future of what our franchise is going to be looking like for this series, is Lucas Raymond. He was drafted 4th overall in this last year's draft. He's going to be an absolute legend for us. But one thing we do see is that he is not signed, and in real life, Yzerman said he wants to let him play in the NA or the SHL for a year. So that's something that we are indeed going to do. We are going to let him have a year away from just a very, very bad team. He's going to get more development in a pro league in the SHL. I don't want to have him playing in Grand Rapids, but yeah, he basically just gets a year of development away from us, so I think that's perfectly fine. Looking at our defense, Moritz Seider, they have him in the game as a top 4 high, but I think just from what we've seen when he played in Grand Rapids last year, and that we've seen from how he's played in the SHL this year, he's definitely more of an elite low two-way defender. I am more than happy to see this, but again, he's going to be playing in Grand Rapids for a year. But then we also have Cholesky, I want to say that's right. So we have another young D-man who is going to be playing in Grand Rapids, just getting a little bit more experience. We also have Jared McIsaac. This is another good guy. So we actually have some fairly good D-men here in the pipeline. William Willander. I can't pronounce these names, but this was a guy that was really, really well received, coming 32nd overall in this past year. And if you watch the World Juniors, he just performed excellently for the team. So this is a young guy that I'm going to be excited to see how he develops. But pretty much the rest for the D-men, nothing there. Then we look at our in-the-system goaltenders. Nothing crazy here. We do have Jan Bedner. You know, he's 55 overall, starter medium, so he's going to take a couple of years to grow and develop, but yeah, so we are still happily going to take him, but it's going to be a while before we use him. So that's really what the team looks like. Obviously, there are a lot of older pieces that we have on the team that we definitely want to get rid of, but then we're going to take a look here at the draft class. We have a lot of draft capital. If we just take a look here at the draft board, projected picks, we have 1 first, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. So we have a lot of area of where we can improve. Our chances are going to get from either pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. because obviously we were the worst team. So hopefully we do end up getting that first pick, because the sooner we get that first pick, the sooner we can get this team to better places. But yeah, looking at some of the watch lists, these are kind of guys that I've gone through a little bit and looked at and been like, yeah, these are guys that we want to target in this draft class. So we have a center, Damon Dunnis. You know, our scouts say he's the 36th best player, you know, CS rankings 41. He has good shooting, so he's going to be fairly nice. They say he's a sniper. He's an elite low. We don't really know that, but he does have an NHL ETA of 3 years, so we are definitely going to keep an eye on that. And then we have Jackson Schley. The big reason why I'm looking at him, elite low, NHL ETA, 2 years, not necessarily the highest, but again, we're going to be talking to some of these guys and figuring out a little bit more. But he's 42 and 42 ranked for the scouts, so it seems like he's pretty consistently there. Then we have Nikia Byzagov, an offensive defenseman, you know, elite low, NHL estimate, you know, 3 years, but you know, I like what I see there. I do indeed like what I see there. And then we have Tafili Canisius. I'm pronouncing these names completely wrong. He's a top 6 forward, estimated ETA 3 years, 76, you know, not too bad. And then we have Cole Fonstead. This is a real life player in this draft. You know, just looking at what I see here, B shooting, A-, senses and puck skills, B skating, D- in physical, and a B- in defense. But the big thing that is he's going to be NHL ready in 2 years. He's a center, so we don't necessarily need centers of the future, but who knows what we might have with him. And then we have another real life player, Alan McShane. Yeah, he's all the way back in what seems like basically undrafted territory. And what I'm seeing right here is I like it. He's supposedly a top 9 forward, but that 2 year away from being NHL ready. So that's kind of looking like where we're going to go for this draft class. Unfortunately for the first year, when you do the expansion draft, the free agency market isn't really great. So we are not even going to consider that. But what we are going to do is jump into the expansion draft and keep the players that we want to keep. So go into the protection screen. So we can do 7 forwards, 3 defensemen or a goalie, or 8 total skaters and 1 goalie. Mark Stahl has a no movement clause. One thing we're definitely going to do is Larkin is staying. I am definitely going to do the 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie. Larkin, Mantha, Bertuzzi, Fabry. These are all guys that are going to be on this, that are going to be staples of this team for a while. Kind of taking a look here, what we should keep. I'm definitely going to keep Nomostov just because he's a solid player. We get 2 more, and he's 27, so it's not bad. I want to keep Smith, and frankly, I'm going to keep Adam Earn just because Svechnikov, he's just not going to be a good player for this organization. So we're definitely keeping Earn. Looking more towards the defensive side, who do we want to keep? We want to keep Hronek. There is no doubt about that. We want Hronek on this team. And then we're also going to keep Shozvalski just because he's an 80 overall, 22. So we're really liking what we see there. And then goalies, we want to keep Bernier. He is our guy. We're going to submit this list and see who gets taken. I have a feeling it's probably going to be Svechnikov. So unfortunately, the draft lottery comes in. Seattle gets the first pick, and we fall all the way to the 4th. Anaheim jumps up from 6 to 2. Florida jumps from 13 to 3, so they get a massive jump up. So we end up getting the 4th pick, which is a very, very tough pill to swallow. Let's take a look at some of these top 4 guys right here. So right now we're going to be losing out on Jalen Humphries, who looks like an absolute monster at the left wing playmaker. And we're also going to be losing out on Cohen Vandermeer, who doesn't look as good as what we saw in Humphrey, but still a pretty good player. I think they're both compared to Sean Monahan, which is interesting. And then Todd Sakic, he is a right-handed or he is a right defenseman. You know, he looks like he could be really, really solid as well. Let's see who they are projecting us with this 4th pick. So this guy is a right-wing grinder all the way up here. Taking a look here at Joshua Sundin. This guy is NHL ready. He's a center. He does have some character issues. I'm not too worried about it, but like for us, it's really going to boil down to these 2 guys and who we like more. So yeah, let's get moving into the draft interview. Actually, let's see what happens in the expansion draft. Tori Stetcher gets taken from our team from the Seattle Aliens. That's very interesting. Now we are going to go do some draft interviews. Alright, so we have 2 goalies right here. Obviously, Dmitry Medvedev. He's supposedly an elite medium, 3 years away. I like the look of this. We are going to definitely interview this guy. Omar White. This is another guy that could be later in the draft, but you know, he does have that elite high, but we don't necessarily know. So what we're going to do for the goalie is we want to know one of his strengths. We're not really going to care too much about the weaknesses. Obviously, the big thing with him is we want to know how long it's going to be for him to be pro ready. So readiness, that's one thing that we do want to know. It's probably going to say a couple of years. Says 3 years, so that's exactly what we are. We're going to get, you know, just to throw in another one, just kind of what it is. It's going to show us all at the end. Take a quick look here. So he's going to be a hybrid goalie. His strengths are senses and NHL ready in 3 years. So this is a guy that we are definitely going to want to target. So going over to all of the players here. Alright, so the next player we are going to interview is Jackson Shea. Obviously, I really want to know if he's going to be NHL ready in 2 years, because if he is going to be NHL ready in 2 years, that is going to be absolutely huge for us to get a pro-ready defenseman in 2 years. Obviously, we already have a couple of young guys coming up through the system. That's going to be good. But I think it's going to be really nice to see if we can get just another, especially if he is elite. You know, if he does turn out to be an elite player, that's even better for us. So we're going to say, look, strength, play style, and then also readiness. This is obviously the big one for us that we want to know. I'm not really going to read out some of these interactions because they're all just pretty generic. We are going to see here. So a 2-way defender, skating is his strength, and he's going to be ready in 3 years. So not necessarily the 2 years that we were hoping out of him, but one thing that we do know is his play style is 2-way, but we know for a fact he is going to take 3 years. And then the final guy that we are going to be interviewing here is Alan McShane. Obviously, he's that top 9, 2 years away. I would be really, really intrigued to see if he actually is only 2 years away from being pro ready. So we are going to interview him. Obviously, the other guys we know fairly well of what they are capable of doing. Play style, again, you know, tell me what a strength is, tell me your play style, and tell me how many years you believe. This is one thing that I really wish they would be able to do in the Madden games. But, you know, they just decide not to scout, you know, do anything for the scouting department, and I love this. So taking a look here, he's a playmaker, his strength is skating, and he's going to be ready in 3 years. So again, not necessarily the 2 years away, but overall I'm really happy to see what we have there. So we're going to go into the draft. Alright, so we are now in the draft. The Seattle Aliens hold the first overall pick. In my mind, it's a no-brainer to take Jalen Humphrey. You know, plays in Russia, so he has A+ competition, so he's playing in a pro league. And what we see right there, yeah, I don't think that's a no-brainer. We are not going to try to trade up for there. They take Jalen Humphrey. He's an 81 elite player. Let's take a look at a little bit of this guy's info. Just overall, he has phenomenal puck skills, has pretty solid senses, pretty good shooting, defense is pretty good, skating's pretty good, but his physicality is fairly low. So yeah, the Aliens have their franchise player essentially right there. The Ducks take Vandermeer, and he turns out to be a 78 overall. This was the next player, so the Ducks get themselves a really, really good left wing as well, but we can clearly see that Humphries was the better player. Now, the Panthers moved up from 3 to 13, so let's see what they do. They take Sakic, 78 or 76 overall, 2-way defender, that's elite. So we know we are definitely going to get one of these two elite guys. Do we want to go with the grinder right wing, who our scouts is saying is the third best player? It's not full, but you know, do we get Jonathan Sundin, who is an elite power forward, you know, and who is NHL ready right now? So for me, honestly, I'm definitely going to take the center, because I think this guy is probably capable of playing second line, possibly, for our team, and he might be able to take the #1 spot away from Larkin down the future. Doubtful, but I am going to go with Sundin. He ends up being a 78 overall power forward, so that is awesome for us. So let's see what the other player was. He's obviously a grinder. Did we make the right choice? They didn't even take him. Ottawa decided to go with the D-man other than Pavel Kulleman. But I guess they do have the next pick right here, so we will get to see. He's a 73 overall elite grinder. So again, I think we made the next best pick. So taking a look at our next pick, we hold the 33rd pick. So looking here at the draft class, down by where 33 is, because obviously a lot of these players are not going to be there when we are drafting next. So taking a look here, this is the next guy, and no thank you. Rhett Reinhardt. I am going to try to steer away from some of the creative players a little bit more, just because I do want to try to get, or not the creative players, the real life players. Taking a look here, this guy's an elite. No, thank you. But then we also have Damon Dunnis, who's another center, who is a guy that we actually have pinned here. But we also have this elite Jackson Shea, who we know is going to take 3 years. Elite. Do we go with the D-man or do we go with the center? Let's sim do our next pick and kind of see what we can do here. So Reinhardt could be good. Sheldon Wog, you know, he doesn't look terrible. But yeah, that goalie is a no-go for me. Right now, he is the top guy, so I'm going to go with Jackson Shea. This is a guy that we indeed interviewed. And he's a top 4 2-way D, 63 overall. What's our next pick? It is number 47. So one thing we are going to keep an eye out for is to see what Wog was. Then we're also going to see what Damon Dunnis was, because instead of going after him, we decided to go for the D-man. And looking 47, so this is kind of where we're going to pick again. Just trying to see, where was our next guy that was kind of, oh, he's back here. So let's move forward to our pick and jump back just to see what those two guys were. Got a 62. So Wog was a top 6 forward, low 63 overall. So looking at both of our guys, I think we got pretty much equal value out of both of them. So that goalie did turn out to be a medium elite guy, but he is going to take a hot minute to develop and actually make his way to the NHL. But here we are here. When's our next pick after this? It looks to be the 25th, so not for a while. So looking at here, Nick Malik, no. Cole Mackey, 3 years for sure. Sniper. Do we have any of our kind of guys? Nicholas Wong, Frederick Anderson, Alexion, Shea Weber, left D could be something, but I'm definitely kind of looking at some of the guys that we have. and I really don't want to lose out on this guy, so I'm going to take him here. He turns out to be a fringe starter 66, so he's not elite. Oh, that's tough, but he's going to be ready sooner rather than later. Taking a look at this here, a third and a fourth, no thank you. I think I will happily stay put with where I am at. We also have this guy, Nikita Berger, or Bygazol. Any guys close to him? Maybe, you know. What was the big thing that we liked out of him? He was an elite low offensive defenseman. NHL, you know what? I'm happy to take the risk. Just keep bolstering our defense. We do not make a great pick there. I mean, it's not a bad. He's a 60 overall, top 6D low. So we definitely could have made a better choice there. Moving over to the 65th spot. So we have this Oliver Shin. I'm really trying to stay away from these guys, especially when they look like that for puck skills. Not overly impressed with that. Hey, Bertuzzi. I don't know if he's the brother of Tyler Bertuzzi, but Thomas Kenness, you know, I have this guy pinned because I like what I see. So we are actually going to end up selecting him. He's a bottom 6 two-way forward, 60 overall. So a guy that's not necessarily going to be super great for us here, but a couple picks later, we get to go again. Lucas Ramberg, 5 years away, so that's going to be a hot minute. And we've drafted a fair amount of D-men already. So again, I'm going to try to see what I can get more. Again, Omar White, this is definitely, he's going to be 5 years, but that, you know, elite high, I'm going to take the risk here. I'm going to take it right here. And he's a 48 fringe starter high. Oh, so we just don't get any of the goalies. Tusley, he's an elite low sniper. The Maple Leafs get another good player of the future. Do we have any other players pinned? It's just Cole Fosstand and Alan McShay. Alright, so after looking over some players here, I think the best player we should go after is this player, Lucas Edmonds. He's a medium elite, so we don't know, but he's a two-way forward. What do we get out of him? He's a bottom 6, so he isn't great. I didn't want to overdraft someone too high just because I didn't want to make any silly decisions there. Just take a look at our pin guys. You know, 188 is kind of there, so we'll just take a look here, see what our next pick is, 161. So I'm happy making one of those guys, or Fond, the next pick after this round. So just kind of taking a look here. Again, I don't really want to go after any guy that is already a created player. Lawrence Ellis, again, I'm sure we've already drafted a couple of centers so far this game, so I'd like to get a couple more wingers. And I know there's going to be at least another center later. Eric Peace. Lucas Garrison, honestly, shooting and puck skills, not bad. I'm going to take a swing for the fence here and see what we got. Bottom 6, two-way forward, 55 overall. Not my greatest pick of all time. But here we are, going to take 2 more centers in this draft. Fonstead, he's a top 9 forward, 67 overall, so not a bad pick by any means, but he could take a couple more years of development to get there. And then do I go with this guy because he, you know, frankly, he doesn't look like he can be a bad player. Who knows, he might actually be better than what's rated there. Top 9, 63, so, you know, we have a couple of centers for the future. Moving on, this is our draft class. So let's take a look at some of the re-signs that we have to do for this video. Go to contracts. going to start position by position here. So Sundin, do I look at Sundin and decide to go, because we don't really have that many great centers. So you know what, I am actually going to bring Sundin into the team, and I think he's probably going to be our, I think he's potentially going to be our second line center. Obviously Bergram, we want him on the team. Two-way, yes, for 3 years. Give him 8.5 3 years. Keep him on the roster. Let him develop for a while. Just taking a look here, we don't really need to sign anyone right away. Brewer, we can sign next season. But yeah, right now we can let a lot of these guys just spend a little bit more time developing. Taking a look at our left wings. I don't even know who this is. 20 overall. Or 55 overall. 20 years old. I'm just going to let him walk. I want to release him. He's just not going to be any sort of use for us. Taking a look again, yeah, our wings are fairly solid on this side. And again, like in real life, I'm going to let Lucas Raymond develop for one more year in the SHL. Then for our D-men, we have, not the world's best D unit out there, but not bad. Looking at some of the guys that we ended up drafting, Shea was he was our first second round pick, not bad looking. William Wallander, he's not too bad there, but then unfortunately looking at some of our goalie situations, we are going to let go of this guy. But yeah, I was really hoping, especially for this guy right here, that he was going to be at least a starter. But he's a fringe starter. This guy has fringe starter high, so he might actually turn into a starting goalie for us. But yeah, so this is kind of what we're looking at here. We're not going to be signing too many rookies. Obviously, Philip Zadina is kind of... Yeah, I was confused there because it was showing him as our top player, which was slightly confusing. Advance a day. Bergram agrees. Sundin agreed. So let's move into a little bit more of the off-season. That's all of our guys that we want to sign signed. We are instantly going to just jump right past free agency into kind of setting the lines up for where we want the lines to be in the future. Sim to next season. Basically going to be declining all of these trades at the moment because we want to try to have the worst team possible just to get some more picks and help us out. Alright, here we are to edit our lines, just taking a look at what the game is saying we're doing. So Zadina, Larkin, and Matt, obviously we have a power forward, playmaker, sniper. This is going to be a lethal combination, elite. That's going to be an absolutely amazing line. We are going to switch Fabry and Bertuzzi because Bertuzzi can play the right wing. And we do get Jonathan Sundin playing the second line, which is something that I wanted. Fabry. Then we have Adam Ern playing with Michael Rasmussen. Also playing with Vladimir Namastenkov. He's a playmaker playing with a sniper and a power forward. So that's actually a pretty solid line. And then our third line is just a rough, or our fourth line is a fairly rough line. So overall, looking at this team, our first three lines are fairly young, but they're fairly solid. So one thing, I don't really mind these guys having a -2 for when they play. They're both defensive D-men, two-way D. Hronik, they're both right Ds. Should I get Hronik? Yeah, so let's leave these two +1s around the board taking a look at the goalies, obviously Jonathan Bernier, he is our number 1 guy. He was drafted 11th overall, really. That is interesting to say the least. Looking at our scratches, Glendening and Christian Dodge, yeah, that's perfectly fine to me. Looking at our AHL lineup here, Tim Harshay, Franz Nelson, Riley Barner, Joe Veleno. He is definitely going to be playing the center position, but we do need him not to have a minus. We don't really want any of these guys to have minuses, really. So unfortunately, Giovanni Smith is going to have to be playing on the 3rd line, just so we don't have any of these minuses. Let's just move these guys up here. 1st line time. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so they are at a -3. That is very interesting. You know what? I'm happy with that being that way. Let's have... I'm really trying to get Jonathan Berggren that +1. Maybe him going there, because obviously he does have that top 6 high, so I kind of like it there. Taking a look at our defense, some of our young... We have a bunch of our old guys back here, so yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that. Taking a look here at our goalie situation, Calvin Pickford, 2 older guys that aren't going to be playing for us in the NHL. They're just kind of filler until we find some better D-men. Setting our captains up, obviously Larkin is our cappy. Bertuzzi, I want Mantha. Actually, you know what? I'm more than happy having Mantha, Bertuzzi, and Larkin have the C and A's. Alright, so this is where we are going to end the video. This is the end of preseason. I'd like to thank you all for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. See you next one. Peace.